What's up, angels? Today we're going to be reviewing Asphyxiated with Reborn in Evil. So this just dropped yesterday. Everyone was telling me, you gotta review this one, like you gotta review this, like it's so good, it's so good. The first thing I noticed, I was like, where have I heard that name before? And then it dawned on me that on this like hardcore festival, there was this band that had the Repudiation logo, and like the 20 of us were trying to find like anything about it. There was no music, they're on the bill. So then we are like, all right, this is like like industry plant slam band. Like, how do you have no music and you're already on the hardcore bill with the Repudiation logo backwards? So it was like, okay, whatever. So I recognize the name. I was really hesitant. It looked like some like Dying Grace album art, some like 90s hardcore type thing. I started listening to it, and it was, the drums were like, I was like, whatever. And then I'm reading the comments, and people were saying, this is like Souls of Fate, and I was like, Souls of Fate, they're like a B grade brutal death metal band in like the early 2000s. Like Sandstorm was cool, the demos were cool, like Souls of Fate, like cool band. The more I listened to the songs that went by, it actually was somewhat pretty decent slam. Like I must admit. The vocals reminded me of like Vomit Remnants, like Japanese brutal death metal. Apparently this was made by the Beanie Babies in Balmora. Balmora, like I don't really care about Balmora. That's fucking metalcore. Like, I don't care. That's not really my scene. That's not my crowd. But the more I listened, I was like, this actually has a lot of like tasty riffs. Like this actually has a lot of substance that a lot of these hardcore brutal death metal, 90s brutal death metal resurgence, 90s New York death metal bands are missing. It's not just reverb, big bass, generic slam. So it had that going for it. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was just going to be some industry plant type of brutal death metal slam, like generic, no riffs. This had plenty of riffs. Pleasantly surprised. There was some like metalcore moments that I wasn't a big fan of, like doom doom doom, doom boom 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 type of like stuff, but it was like very far and few. The actual brutal death metal of this actually overshadowed a lot of those moments for me that not too worried about. Overall, I'd say this was like a good 7 out of 10. Like, I'm actually really impressed with this band. I haven't like, I reviewed Splattered Spine. Like, I dug that one. Like, it was like like Mortician with like this new style. But it's like I enjoyed Anadonia. I gave Final Resting Place an 8 out of 10. It's like there were a lot of cool bands that were coming out. It was like Final Resting Place, Fatal Realm, Anadonia, and then it was like a lot more of these hardcore trend bands popped up, and it was like, all right, like we get it, like we've seen enough, like we don't need more. And then they were getting a little generic, but like this Asphyxiated is like kind of like a fresh taste. Like it actually has riffs. Like I think for this trend of 90s brutal death metal, hardcore, kid, whatever, to survive and maintain, it needs to follow more into this direction that Asphyxiated has done. More of the more riffs. That was one of my things with the Final Resting Place. I was like, I just wish there was a little bit more riffs. It was a little just too hardcore. It kind of like lost the balance between their second release from the first one. There was like a little less brutal death metal, New York death metal. It was like a little bit too hardcore, like joom 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 boom boom boom. Just a little bit more, riffage. Just a little bit, some more meat. Some more meat, some more riffage, some more evil. But Asphyxiated, Reborn, and Evil. Don't care for Balmora, but I prefer this. Now, it's like, does it matter that the Beanie people in Balmora discovered brutal death metal. Not really, because it's good, you know? I'm all for these, I guess you could, like, poser bands that the brutal death metal scene would say, making brutal death metal. Like, all these poser metalcore bands making brutal death metal. As long as it's good, come right the fuck in, you know? If it's bad, I'm gonna say it's fucking bad. You know, there was plenty of bands that I've already fucking blacklisted. For me personally, I'm just like, I don't fuck with this. But Asphyxiated, looks like Dying Grace, made by Balmora kids, Beanie crowd. Is it good? Does it have good riffs? Yeah, I thought it was, you know, pretty cool. Is it something that I would put on? Like, search up, put on? Not necessarily. I'd much rather put on Souls of Fate before I was to put this on, even though a lot of people were comparing it to Souls of Fate. And I thought that the vocals, like I mentioned, resembled a lot like Vomit Remnants. I would rather just listen to Vomit Remnants and Souls of Fate, then listen to this. And for metalcore, I'd rather listen to stuff like Morning Again, you know. But overall, I thought that this was cool. I enjoyed it. I think that this is good, okay? 7 out of 10. It is good. Balmora, Beanie Kids, Metalcore Kids. Din din din. Psst. You made some good brutal death metal. Congrats. Okay? I did not like the Repudiation logo. It's just backwards. Alright? I'm glad that that did not stay at all. Keep that shit away. That's getting overdone, because then, like, the Indonesian kids are, like, doing, like, Final Resting Place copies, and Final Resting Place was already, like, a copy of in Torturement, so it's, like, it's so, Final Resting Place has been around for, like, a few years, like, they're already copying it, like, we're already ripping off something that's brand new, that's already, like, kind of a rip-off already. It's, like, what are you, like, but, yeah, these bands need to stop busting logos from, like, 90s brutal death metal bands. It's like, yeah, why? You know, it makes no sense. But cool band, little longer in-depth review. And that's the thing, like, before, like I said, you know, first looking at it, it's like, this is gonna be like some, like, shitty metalcore, like, all right, we get the trend, it looks like Dying Grace, like, whatever. And then you listen to it, it's like, these metalcore kids in Balmora were like the most death metal riffage, hardcore brutal death metal revival type thing yet. So it's like, how do the hardcore kids make the most brutal riffage type, like, technical release out of everyone? You know what I mean? it's like Final Resting Place with all, like, the brutal death metal kids make the most hardcore sounding one, and then all the metalcore Beanie Babies and Balmora make the most technical, brutal death metal release, you know? It's like, make that make sense. You know, how are the hardcore kids making the brutal death metal, like, more actual brutal death metal than the other ones, you know? But, I mean, I like it. I thought it was cool. That's my opinion. Everyone wanted my opinion. I had to listen to it, so I listened to it, you know. But, you know, I'm always around for suggestions. Tell me what else you want to have me review, talk about, anything you want. I don't sugarcoat nothing. I'm not like, oh, yeah, it was oh my God, I saw. Everyone was saying it was good. The trend. You know, so take care. Peace.